Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Take a moment, if you will, to listen to the sound of the wind rattling through the stands at the racecourse ground. It's a sound that carries history, isn't it? It carries the whispers of miners, of steelworkers, of fathers and sons who stood on these terraces through the pouring rain and the bitter cold. We talk a lot about the magic of Wrexham in this new era, the Hollywood lights, the promotions, the global fame. But if you strip all the glitz away, if you peel back the layers of this football club, you find its beating heart. And that heart has always been about one thing: survival. It's about grit. It's about facing the darkest of days and refusing to let the light go out. Today, we aren't talking about Paul Mullen's goal-scoring records or the latest commercial deal. We are going deep into the academy, to the very roots of the future of this club, to tell a story that frankly stops you in your tracks. It is a story that makes the game of football seem incredibly small, and yet, simultaneously, shows us exactly why this sport is the most powerful force on earth. We are talking about Oumar Nawaz. To some of you, that name might just be a line on a squad sheet for the youth team, a prospect, a young lad with a bit of pace. But Oumar Nawaz is walking a path that most of us cannot even comprehend. He is an 18-year-old striker who joined Wrexham AFC in June 2024. But his journey to North Wales didn't start in a local park or a nearby academy. It started in the shadow of one of the most horrific tragedies in modern history. This is a lad who looked terror in the face at the age of 7. A boy who lost his brother to the Taliban, a refugee who fled his homeland of Pakistan to find sanctuary in the UK, only to return to that very same soil years later, not as a victim, but as a national hero representing his country. It is a tale of unimaginable loss, of exile, and the incredible redemption found at his feet. This is the story of how a survivor found his home at Wrexham, and how he conquered his ghosts to play for Pakistan. Settle in, because this one hits different. This is the spirit of the dragon, real and raw.
To understand the man, or rather the young man, that Oumar Nawaz is becoming, we have to rewind the clock. We have to leave the green grass of the racecourse and travel back to December 2014. The location is Peshawar, Pakistan. For many of us here in Wales, our worries in December revolve around the heating bill or the Christmas fixtures. But for the Nawaz family, December 2014 brought a darkness that no family should ever endure. Oumar was just 7 years old, a child. At that age, your biggest worry should be scuffing your knees or forgetting your homework. But on that fateful day, the Army Public School in Peshawar became the target of a brutal, sickening attack by the Taliban. It is difficult to even speak the words without feeling a chill run down the spine. Terrorists stormed the school. It was a massacre designed to break the spirit of a nation. By the time the guns fell silent, 141 people lay dead. Most of them were children, students. In the chaos of that day, the Nawaz family was torn apart. Oumar's older brother, Harris, was among the victims. He was killed in cold blood. Just pause and think about that. A brother, gone. A piece of the family soul extinguished in an act of senseless violence. And it didn't end there. Oumar's other older brother, Ahmed, was also caught in the storm of bullets. He was shot in the arm, a grave injury that required immediate and complex emergency surgery. Oumar, at 7 years old, was witnessing the collapse of his world. The trauma of such an event is something that rewires the brain. It changes the way you see the sun rise. It changes the way you hear a loud noise. For the Nawaz family, staying in Peshawar was no longer just difficult, it was haunted. The streets they walked, the air they breathed, it was all heavy with the memory of Harris and the looming threat that it could happen again. They had to make the choice that no family wants to make, but thousands of us do. They had to flee. They left behind their home, their history, and the resting place of their son to seek safety. They moved halfway across the world to the United Kingdom, settling in the Birmingham area.
Imagine the disorientation. You are a young boy, carrying the weight of grief that would crush a grown man, dropped into the West Midlands. The weather is grey, the culture is alien, and the language is a wall you cannot climb. Umar arrived in England speaking no English. He was silent, observing a world that moved fast around him, likely feeling more isolated than ever. But survival is a strange instinct. It pushes you forward even when you want to stop. His brother Ahmed, the one who survived the gunshot, became a symbol of resilience in his own right. But for young Umar, the path to healing was quieter. It began in the classrooms of a primary school in Birmingham. Incredibly, within just 4 months, the lad had grasped the language. He started to understand the banter, the instructions, the way of life. It was the first sign of the determination that would eventually lead him to Wrexham. But words were not enough. He needed an outlet. He needed something that didn't require translation. He needed football.
Football in its purest form is a sanctuary. When the whistle blows, it doesn't matter where you were born, what language you speak, or what horrors you have seen. The ball moves the same way for everyone. For Umar Nawaz, the pitch became the only place where the noise in his head would quiet down. It was on the grass that he wasn't the refugee kid or the boy whose brother was killed. He was just a striker. He was a threat. He was alive. He started playing locally, and it became quickly apparent that this wasn't just a hobby to pass the time. This was a calling. His talent was raw, fueled by an inner fire that perhaps even he didn't fully understand yet. He was picked up by the Bourneville Academy, a place where he began to sharpen his skills, learning the tactical side of the English game. His performances there caught the eye of bigger fish, leading him to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Being at a club like Wolves is no small feat. The competition is fierce. You are up against the best young talent in the Midlands, lads who have been in the system since they were in nappies. But Umar held his own. He developed his pace, his finishing, and his footballing intelligence. Yet, the journey of a youth player is never a straight line. It is full of twists, releases, and trials. Then came June 2024. Wrexham AFC. Now, why Wrexham? On the surface, it's a great move because of the club's trajectory. But look deeper. Wrexham is a town built on resilience. It's a town that has been knocked down, ignored, and left to rot, only to rise again through the sheer will of its community. There is a spiritual alignment there. Umar Nawaz, the boy who survived the Taliban, joining a club that survived liquidation. It fits. It just fits. He joined the Wrexham Academy as a scholar, viewed immediately as an exciting prospect within the Red setup. The coaches saw something in him, not just the ability to put the ball in the net, but a maturity that belied his 18 years. You can teach a player how to pass. You cannot teach them the perspective that comes from surviving a war zone. That mental fortitude is a weapon. Since arriving in North Wales, Umar has thrived. He's been working hard in the shadows, away from the documentary cameras, grinding on the training pitches at Collier's Park. He's a striker with an eye for goal, yes, but he's also a player who understands the value of every single minute he gets on the field. He knows that nothing is guaranteed. But the story takes a truly cinematic turn here. Usually, the progression is logical. You play for the youth team, you break into the reserves, you make your senior club debut, and then, if you are one of the lucky few, you get an international call-up. Umar Nawaz, however, decided to tear up the script. While still waiting for his first senior appearance for Wrexham's first team, the call came from his Alabama. The Pakistan national team wanted him. They had been tracking the diaspora, looking for talent developed in the intense academies of Europe, and they saw Umar. They saw the boy from Peshawar who had learned his trade in the West Midlands and North Wales. They wanted him to come home. This brings us to the most emotionally complex part of this saga. The call-up wasn't just about football. If it were, it would be a simple cause for celebration. But for Umar, accepting that call meant returning to Pakistan. It meant flying back to the place where his childhood ended. It meant breathing the air of the country where his brother Harris was murdered. Imagine the conflict in his heart. On one hand, the immense pride of representing your nation, the dream of every footballer. On the other hand, the trauma of the past. He hadn't been back since the massacre. The wounds were over a decade old, but for the heart, time is often irrelevant. Speaking to the BBC, Umar was incredibly honest about this internal battle. He didn't sugarcoat it. He said, "It was a bit unsettling. It was the place I lost my brother." Those words carry a weight that we can barely fathom. Unsettling is a British understatement for what must have been a whirlwind of grief and anxiety. But listen to what he said next. This is the mark of the man. "But I was going to go in. It is my country. It is a big moment." Courage. That is pure, undiluted courage. It is the courage to face your demons for a greater purpose. He chose to honour his country, and in doing so, honour the memory of his brother Harris. He flew back. He put on the green jersey. On November 18th, Umar Nawaz made history. He stepped onto the pitch against Syria. He came on as a substitute. The scoreline, a 5-0 defeat, is utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. The result on the scoreboard will be forgotten in a few years, but the image of Umar Nawaz, the survivor of the Peshawar massacre, stepping onto the field as an international footballer, that is eternal. He achieved an international cap before making a senior appearance for Wrexham. That is a statistical anomaly, a rarity in the modern game. It speaks to the unique path he is on. When he stepped onto that pitch, he wasn't just playing for the Pakistan Football Federation, he was playing for Harris, he was playing for Ahmad, he was playing for every child in that school in 2014. And he was representing Wrexham. He took the grit he learned in the UK, the resilience he forged in the fires of tragedy, and he showcased it to the world. The experience of returning, he admitted, was difficult, but breaking that barrier, crossing that border back into the land of his birth, has likely unlocked a new level of strength in him. He has faced the past, he has looked it in the eye and played on. Now he returns to Wrexham not just as a youth prospect, but as a full international. He brings that experience, that maturity, back to the racecourse.
So, what does this mean for Wrexham AFC? It reminds us that a football club is a collection of stories. We have the Hollywood owners, yes. We have the lower league legends like Super Paul Mullin. But we also have Umar Nawaz. His story is a testament to the power of this sport to rebuild lives. From the horrors of the Taliban to the sanctuary of the Wrexham Academy, his journey is one of the most inspiring you will ever hear. It puts 3 points on a Saturday into perspective, doesn't it? Umar is now back in North Wales, continuing his development. He is working hard to break into Phil Parkinson's plans, and you have to believe, with everything he has overcome, that a defender in League One or the Championship isn't going to scare him. He has faced worse than a tough centre-back on a cold Tuesday night. We need to rally behind this lad. When you see his name on the team sheet for the youth squad, or hopefully soon for the senior team, remember what it took for him to get there. Remember Harris. Remember the journey. This is Wrexham. We look after our own. And Umar Nawaz, the boy who fled the darkness to find the light, is one of our own. He is a dragon through and through. What a story. What a lad. We will be watching his career with immense pride. Keep the faith, everyone. Up the town.